बट पीपल हैव दिस माइंडसेट, यार ग्रेजुएशन आ रही है, हमारा हो नहीं रहा है तो करेंगे क्या आप? हमें तो टीसीएस में जॉब लग गई, खत्म, अभी तो क्या है यार, हम वो बंदों के जैसा नहीं बन सकते. People, what they do is they are applying to QE roles, quality engineering roles. They go with a developer resume.
Yeah.
They tell them, people go for developer roles and they go with an entrepreneurship resume that I'm currently working in 3 startups. One of them is my own, and the product launch is just in the next month. Whenever the people are preparing, they are focusing on something which is obtained after the interview is cracked. They're not focusing on something which is needed to be cracked, needed to crack that interview. You're trying to explain the concept in a format which you learnt, and not in a format which you understood.
Hello everyone. Today we have with us a very special guest, that is Affan, and he's currently working at Amazon as an SD, and he also went viral through his amazing post over LinkedIn as well. I think you might have came across his post as well. So let's hear from him about his journey in tech, and over to you, Affan.
So hi everyone, and thanks Kushal for calling me out to your channel. It's an amazing channel. I've been knowing your channel well before even I cracked Amazon. So a couple of introduction, basic thing about myself. I come from a VIT college, which is in Pune. Let's make a disclaimer: VIT doesn't stand for Vellore. So I come from Pune, and it's a tier 3 college. So in my career, I've worked with Credit Suisse, which was an off-campus opportunity which I cracked, and later after Credit Suisse, worked 10 months over there. After that, I got an opportunity from Amazon, and that's where I joined them as an SD1. So that's pretty much a couple of things about myself. Yeah.
Great, great. So, Affan, how you actually got this opportunity at Amazon? I mean, it is via any kind of hackathon, or is it via
Mhm.
some challenge, or is it? I mean, how you got it actually?
So I remember, like when I was in my final year, I Amazon came for an off-campus drive all over Maharashtra, and
Oh,
that was the time where I cleared the coding round. And unfortunately, I'm not sure why, but the drive didn't went ahead. Then the
oh,
second time I applied to the through the careers portal, I again got a email for the coding round. I again gave that coding round. I cleared that as well. I mean, all test cases passing, that happiness which we get. So I remember having that, and after that, so it was like due to some personal emergencies at my home, I was not able to go to Bangalore for an on-site. I was called on-site, but due to some issues I couldn't go. Then a couple of folks, I mean from Amazon, which are who were referring people. So I think I had asked someone when I started with my career at Credit Suisse to just see if there are openings or not. So when that guy actually explained me that there's SD1 openings which opens up every year, so I was waiting for that. But eventually what happened was I just got a mail saying, hey, SD1 recruiting, hey Afan, your profile looks a fit for SD1, are
mhm.
you interested? And that's where I got this opportunity, and I applied, and things went right for me.
Great, great.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Affan, tell us about the hiring process that you had.
Okay, so the first round, which is I guess everyone knows, is like the coding round, which comes into picture, right? So I got a link for the code online assessment, which we call it in generally. So I got this online assessment. It had around 2 questions, and good level questions, and I mean it's something which I would say, like, if you're not prepared, it would be tough for you to solve them. Then after I cleared that, I got a call from the recruiter saying, hey, we have you've congratulations, you've cleared the coding round. Now we want to set up an interview with you, and that's on the next Friday.
तो आपको पता है एक ऑनलाइन टेस्ट या फिर एक इंटरव्यू क्लियर करने के लिए सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ क्या होती है? एक प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज लाइक C++, जावा या पाइथन. बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स को प्रोग्रामिंग लैंग्वेज के कॉन्सेप्ट समझ नहीं आते, कैसे इंप्लीमेंटेशन होगी चीज़ों की वो समझ नहीं आती. तो कोडिंग निंजाज आपके लेकर आ गए हैं बेहतरीन बेहतरीन कोर्सेज, जिससे आप C++, पाइथन, जावा और पता नहीं कौन कौन सी लैंग्वेजेस सीख सकते हैं और समझ सकते हैं. सारे कंसेप्ट आपके क्लियर हो जाएंगे. जो इनका प्लेटफॉर्म है उस पर बहुत वेल डिफाइंड पाथ्स हैं, जिससे आप सारे बेसिक टू एडवांस लेवल सारे कॉन्सेप्ट आपके एक एक करके अलॉन्ग विद टेस्ट एंड असाइनमेंट्स आप क्लियर करते हैं. तो सारे कोर्सेज को मॉड्यूल्स में डिवाइड किया जाता है, जिसमें आपके इंट्रोडक्शन से लेकर इंटरमीडिएट टू एडवांस टॉपिक्स तक कवर किए जाते हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल हर मॉड्यूल के अंदर बेसिक से लेकर एडवांस टॉपिक्स तक आपको समझाए जाते हैं एक्सपर्ट्स के द्वारा. साथ ही साथ असाइनमेंट भी होता है आपके लिए, ताकि आपकी प्रैक्टिस हो सके अच्छे से. अगर आपको असाइनमेंट सॉल्व करने में कोई भी प्रॉब्लम हो रही है तो आप हिंट का यूज़ कर सकते हैं. साथ ही साथ अगर आपसे हिंट से भी आपसे क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं हो रहा है तो आप डाउट भी रेस कर सकते हैं. वन डाउट सपोर्ट मिलता है आपको, और फ्यू आवर्स में आपकी जो क्वेरी होती है वो रिजॉल्व की जाती है, जिसमें आप कोई से भी तरीके का डाउट रेज कर सकते हैं. जो इधर आपको कोड के में हेल्प चाहिए, क्वेश्चन या कंसेप्ट में हेल्प चाहिए, प्लेटफॉर्म रिलेटेड कोई इशू है या कोई और इशू है, तो आप क्रिएट कर सकते हैं कोई भी डाउट, और इजीली सारे जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स आपके यहाँ पे क्लियर हो जाएंगे. वीडियो लेक्चर्स एज वेल एज असाइनमेंट्स प्रॉब्लम्स भी साथ में सॉल्व कराई जाती है, ताकि आपका हैंड्स ऑन एक्सपीरियंस भी हो जाए. कोडिंग निंजास के प्लेटफॉर्म पे आपको अमेजिंग कोर्सेज मिल जाएंगे, लैंग्वेजेस से लेकर करियर ट्रैक्स बने हुए हैं, डेटा एंड डेवलपमेंट रिलेटेड कोर्सेज भी हैं, तो ज़रूर जाके इसे चेकआउट करें। और अगर आप एनरोल करते हैं तो अभी अर्ली बर्ड डिस्काउंट के ऊपर आपको जो भी कोर्स में आप एनरोल करते हैं 15% एक्स्ट्रा डिस्काउंट भी मिलेगा मेरा कूपन कोड यूज़ करके। लिंक डिस्क्रिप्शन में आपको मिल जाएगा, तो उसे ज़रूर यूज़ करें। 27 जून इसकी लास्ट डेट ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन है और 4 जुलाई लास्ट डेट ऑफ एनरोलमेंट है, तो फटाफट जाके इसमें इसको चेक करें और डेफिनेटली आपको हेल्प करेगा आपके कॉन्सेप्ट्स क्लियर करने में, सारे धागे खोल देगा आपको। ठीक है, अब चलिए वीडियो कंटिन्यू करते हैं।
And that was Monday. I remember he called me up, and I'm working at my office. And within 3 days span, he's telling me come and give 2 interview rounds, and that too one hour long. So I was a little tense, but things like you have to do it with work. That's how it is. So I went ahead, and on Friday I gave these 2 interviews. Then on the next Monday, again the recruiter contacted me saying, "Hey, congratulations, you've cleared the second stage, which is 2 rounds of interviews." And then there were another 2 rounds of interview. So the third and the fourth interview, there was some delays just because I guess there were time availability, and even I had my meetings of office. So due to that, there was like one interview scheduled at on the next Friday, and the another interview was scheduled after that on the Tuesday. So this was the five rounds which I gave. And as soon as I I was done with my interviews. The very next day, I got the a call from the recruiter about saying, you got selected.
Wow. So, Afan, how was the difficulty of the rounds that you had? I mean, the technical interviews, and what topics were covered during those interviews?
Okay, so this follows a general pattern across many product-based companies. So there are coding rounds and there are a set of technical interviews, right? So the topics which I would suggest, which are actually covered in general in all of these, and which happened with my interviews as well. So the first important thing was knowing your DSL goes. The second important thing was understanding problem solving. The third thing was object-oriented programming, knowing how objects work. The fourth thing, which I would say, is operating systems, computer networks, and database management systems. So these are some key topics which you should know about. Apart from that, something which is very important is about your projects. Those are also asked in my technical interviews, and a couple of behavioral questions. So these were, in general, the topics which were asked to me.
You went through a lot of interviews in the past as
Mhm.
well. So, according to you, what are the common mistakes that students usually do in technical interviews?
So the first thing is I understood this as a student as well. You're trying to explain the concept in a format which you learnt, and not in a format which you understood. That is the biggest problem. You'll come and explain what the definition of deadlock is, but you're not gonna actually take processes like you're not gonna explain them using examples like there are two friends. One friend is having a pencil, another is having an eraser. Both of them want to draw on their different pages, but since one is using the pencil, the other one is using the resource, which is eraser. They cannot sync up with each other because the first guy is waiting to get the pencil, the second guy is waiting to get the eraser. That's going to create a problem, and that's where deadlock comes. So explaining concepts this way is what is expected in interviews. It's not that you'll come up and just you've learned a definition. That's one thing. The second important thing is whenever you speak in front of cameras or whenever you speak in front of anyone, you might think that you are actually speaking the right thing, but people tend to repeat a lot. I've seen this. People tend to repeat what they say. So try to make sure you answer only what is being asked and to the point, and make sure you also give examples which are relevant to the situation, not just examples which you had prepared. So these are a couple of things which happen in technical interviews. One more important mistake which I see people is you go into your interview and you're shocked, you're pretty much amused, like, hey, how can you even ask me such a question on my project? I mean, I
Oh,
never thought it from this angle. That's the thing, and that's where your confidence goes down,
yeah.
right? So what you can do is one important thing which will help you make sure that this never happens with you is take your resume, pick up each experience, pick up each project, and criticize it. Criticize it as if you are a judge of a hackathon and that project has come to you. What will you do? Put it to a real life situation and tell it, yaar, ye fatne wala hai. These API calls are not going to work. There's no security in it. This complexity is too high. In real life system, if 50,000 customers are going to come on that app, it's just going to blow up. That's where you will understand what are the questions. So I remember before my Amazon interviews, I made around 50, 60 questions on my resume, and I criticized myself. I criticized my projects. I criticized my work experience. That's where I realized what are my weaknesses and what are the answers to those questions.
How you actually build your problem solving skills, which is the most important skill required while solving DSLGO problems. So, how you actually develop the problem solving skills?
It's actually very nice of you to say it as problem solving and not competitive coding. Okay, so these are two different things. So problem solving is when the base to develop it is, I think, understanding and writing down code by yourself, explaining it to others. And the third thing which you can do is practicing it in interview time limited slots. So if an interview is in 45 minutes, you have to make sure that you practice your mock interviews in those 45 minutes only. And so what happens is you might develop a good problem solving skill by doing hundreds or 800, 900 questions on lead code, but you haven't timed it. You don't know how to speak, you don't know how to explain your thought process. You are not sure as to how much depth is expected. Like you might think like this particular thing is pretty much expected, I shouldn't explain it. But when the interviewer is expecting that from you. So I definitely recommend, if you want to just increase your problem solving, do a couple of things like instead of just look if once you have a look at what the code is, what the data structure is, but write it down yourself without even looking at once, and make sure you are able to write what a stack is.
Exactly.
And using things which you do in interview will help you a lot in your preparation. I see people using books and trying to write code on books, but what happens in an interview? You are given a blank Google Doc. There's no editors, there's no autocomplete. Even the worst part is when you are typing int, the I gets capital and it's going to irritate you. So there's no indentation as well. So practicing all these things. And one more important thing about problem solving which I learned is it's about trying to match patterns between different problem statements. First you try what you know about, whatever you have learned, whatever data structures you've tried. Then if you don't know the solution, you look at it once, then try to obviously after you have tried a lot, not just go and look up the solution. Once you're done with that, then you look at the solution and try to code it yourself. It takes time. I'll be very frank, it's not like 1 month he prepared and he got Amazon. It takes time. I started this in my final year, and till my first year of career was over, I was able to grab it. So it takes time, don't worry, it will come.
Preparation strategy that you followed and that helped you want to share with the students out here?
Okay, so I think pre-decide by your second year. Okay, by your second year, I got to understand what I am interested in. What are the different topics I would like to work upon? But there are two things. So one is preparing for your passion. Like you are passionate about AI ML things and IoT blockchain. That is one thing. So and the other thing is cracking those interviews to get to that position.
Mhm.
Right. So I was initially towards the first part, which is about AI ML. I was pretty much enthusiastic about it. Then I later realized if I want to work in that domain, I have to crack some interviews. So that's where I made up my mind. First step is to crack that interview. Then I'll go there. Uh, Whenever the people are preparing, they are focusing on something which is obtained after the interview is cracked. They're not focusing on something which is needed to be cracked, needed to crack that interview. So my suggestions would be decide which domain you like, build your projects in that domain, and the rest of your time try to spend it on making sure you are able to crack that interview whenever it comes to you. Some strategies was like I used to write code initially when I was in my second year. I started writing code on my own, even though I didn't understand how to do it. Like I used to refer Geeks for Geeks and see how binary search tree kaise create karte hain, and things like that. So that gave me confidence. The second thing is you dry run your code. You take a paper or you go to a Google Doc and dry run your code and see what variables are changing. That really helped me understand my logic. And in my preparation strategy, I remember right from my final year, I've been guiding a lot of juniors. Having someone with you to study motivates you. Make sure you have a study partner, and try to don't just say that you click the submit button on lead code. That doesn't crack your interview. If if it's okay if you don't submit that question as well, but if it would be great if you could explain it to your friend and your
Yeah.
friend understands what you are saying.
Now you have an experience working with two big firms in the corporate.
Yeah.
So any things which students should know before entering to the corporate. If you want to share something.
Right. So a fun fact is emails are very important. Get used to it. So if you're not working in any internship, definitely get you. I'll mention some soft skills first, and then I'll mention some hard skills. So in the soft skills, there would be something like I said, emails are very important. The second thing is being an extrovert and making your network changes your career. This is a very great thing I understood. The third thing is you have to speak. You have to make sure whatever product or whatever thing you are working on, it is documented. You don't need to just come up and tell to your manager, hey, this is my idea. Instead, go up with a document, write down something about what it is. So what happens is when your manager goes to the director, he can take that document and say, hey, this is what my team is suggesting, and he will rely on your idea rather than someone who just came up and spoke about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's a couple of soft skills. And a hard skills, like you should understand basics of version control. Git kaise use karta hai. You should understand the basic client server architecture, how HTML, CSS, JavaScript, those things work. Backend kaise hota hai, front end kaise hota hai, middleware kya hota hai. You should also know some basic SQL queries. At the end of the day, you are going to write queries somewhere or the other. So these are a couple of things. There is one more important important thing, which is coding principles. Students don't know that. Got to know that when I was working with a senior developer. He came to me and he explained me there are some coding patterns which need to be followed. There is a way you have to write the code. So there's one line which is very important, and I think that is, anyone can write code which computers understand. Good engineers write code which humans understand. So this is something which changed me a lot, and that's where I understood how important it is to write clean code. I'll recommend something. Go onto YouTube, or yeah, Kushal, you can just make a video on this thing, like how to write clean code. It's a very, very important thing. People take it for granted.
So that's all. I hope you guys have learned something from this video. Even I got to learn a lot new things that Affan has followed, and I'm going to follow them definitely. So thank you for your time, Affan, and all the best for your endeavors ahead. Further, if you want to connect with Affan, just go check the description box. I mentioned his LinkedIn ID. If you have any questions for me, you can definitely, like always, you can text me over LinkedIn or Instagram or comment down below. Do make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel to, for such amazing content. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kushal. Thanks for having me on your YouTube channel, and yeah, you're doing a great work on your YouTube channel. So